shook people in a way that they'll never forget.
Yeah. So I know that 50 years from now, you might have a different theory, but what is your approach today to investing?
So the other thing I make clear in my book is that this is not advice, and that's not just to make the lawyers happy. Like, everyone invests differently. So just because this is what I do doesn't mean that it's what you should do.
Not financial advice.
Not financial advice for everyone. I'm a passive investor. I invest mostly in index funds, which are very broad, low cost, diversified funds. And I plan on holding them for 50 plus years. I never sell. And I do what's called dollar cost averaging. So I invest the same amount of money every single month, come hell or high water, every month on the first of the month, the same dollar amount over and over again. It's not based off of where I think the market's going to go next or what the economy's doing. It's just a consistent system to invest a little bit more for as long as I can and hold that for as long as I can. So that's how I invest in the stock market. My wife and I have a fairly high percentage of cash as our net worth. Like, if most financial advisors looked at it, they'd say, like, what's going on here? Are you saving for a new house or whatnot? And I always say, no, I'm saving for a world that I know is going to take me and everyone else for a wild ride. And I think most people think about risk. They only think about the risk that they can envision, that the risk that makes sense to them. And the thing that we know about risk is that the biggest risk is always what you don't see coming. I've used like 9/11, 2008, and COVID. Nobody saw those things coming before they had destroyed the world effectively. And at the personal level, it's the same. Very few people see a divorce coming. Very few people see cancer coming. And most people think it's not going to happen to them until it does. So I have a higher level of cash than most people because I want to stay cognizant that even if things are going well now, like, things change and change abruptly. So in a world where risk is what you don't see coming, you need to have a level of conservatism in your finances that seems like it's a little bit too much. Because if you're only planning for the risks that you can see, you're going to miss the surprise 10 times out of 10. So those are my high level finance philosophies: investing low cost, diversified for the next 50 years, and a high level of conservatism. I like to think of it as like saving like a pessimist and investing like an optimist.
Yeah.
I want to save my money with the idea that, like, oh, the world's fragile and my career might be fragile, and I want to be prepared for that so I can endure it. But I invest with the idea that, like, if I can endure it and put up with all the ups and downs, then if I can stay invested for 50 years, the results will be incredible. It's like that barbell personality.
Besides this investing in the stock market, do you have real estate, other investments?
We own our house, and I write in the book, we own it outright, which is, I write, it was the worst financial decision we could have ever made, but the best money decision we could have ever made. That's an important thing. That's one of the things that, like, I can't explain on a spreadsheet why we don't have a mortgage. Because up until 6 months ago, you could have got a 30-year fixed rate mortgage for 2.5%, basically free money. And not having a mortgage helps us sleep better at night. We like the feeling that it gives us. So that's another, like, saving like a pessimist. I put it in that camp. Like, I can't show you on a spreadsheet. I can't justify on a spreadsheet why we did it. But for like moral reasons in our household, it's the best money decision that we've ever made. So that's the only real estate that we have. And then other than, effectively our entire net worth is a house, a checking account, and index funds. That's 99% of our net worth. And I think it doesn't need to be more complicated than that. There's always an assumption that the more complicated your finances, the better you'll do. I think that's like a knee-jerk reaction of like, oh, how can I make it more sophisticated? And I think it's almost always wrong.
Yeah.
It's almost always the case that simpler is going to be better. So much of the time, I know it sounds cynical, but a lot of times complexity in finance is just an excuse for higher fees. But the results that come from it are always, like, rarely show up. So I think the more simple it can be, I love that I can, like, wrap my head around my finances in 2 seconds. It's so easy for me to track and think about. And B, I think when it's that simple, you're cutting out so many middlemen from the equation to make it as low fee as possible, which I think is, for us at least, the right way to do it.
How are you thinking about crypto?
See, I don't own any, so I could probably stop there and say that's how I feel about it. But I also would not in a million years bet against it either.
Yeah.